Hey, it's Heather with our comfort food video series, and the second one is going to be meatball lasagna, which is a play on Lyrical's favorite comfort food. And she likes lots of meaty stuff in her lasagna, so you know the drill. Let's get going. Now, normally I'll take the time to make homemade meatballs, but I'm using my favorite brand of fresh store-bought ones this time. Meanwhile, while the meatballs have a little party next door, I'm going to be using some ground veal and some ground pork. Also got some garlic out and a little blend of seasonings that is like complete spice, some Italian spice, and a little dash of some Emeril essence that I like using. Alright, we've got our spices and our meat in the pan browning up, and we've got our meatballs that we turned over, but they're almost done. I don't always let them cook all the way through, just for the pure fact that they're going to be in the lasagna and slow bake in there, but you do want to cook them probably most of the way through, just to be sure. Alright, our veal and pork mixture is almost done. It won't emit as much oil as ground beef does, but if you want to get the oil out, I suggest you drain it. Alright, I took our ricotta, probably about 1.5 cups of what we had in there. To that, I'm going to add some Asiago cheese. It may look like a lot, but hey. About half of the container of mozzarella. Last but not least, I'm going to add 1 egg. And when you mix all that together, you got a very goopy cheese mixture that's going to be for our cheese and our lasagna. Now remember, save some of the mozzarella for the top, or else you're going to have a really weird looking lasagna. Now when I'm in a rush, I like to get the oven ready baked lasagna noodles, but I always like to put them in water first, almost like to give them a head start on it. So yeah, that's just a personal pet peeve of mine, I think. Now for assembly line time, I like to put a little bit of sauce in the bottom before I put down our 2 things. Next, I'm going to be putting a layer of our cheese. And on top of that, I'm going to be laying halved a layer of the meatballs. Cut them in half. 1 to make sure they were cooked all the way, which doesn't always totally matter because it does cook in the lasagna. But they're a lot easier to lay out this way, and you don't find a giant meatball in 1 bite sometimes. Which, hey, if that's your thing, leave them whole. I don't care. That's fine. I've done it both ways. Alright. Last but not least, we're going to put another layer of our ground meat. Now, we're going to keep layering that. Probably 1 more layer and then a top layer, and I'll show you what we got. Alright, and to finish that off, we are going to put 2 of our noodles, because that's all that's left. Come here, noodle. Can't escape your fate, man. You can apparently fall apart, though. Hold on. There we go. They both got a little too over-soaked, which was my fault, but that's okay. Put our layer of sauce. And we'll be adding our last of our mozzarella cheese. We'll be almost done. We preheat our oven to 350 and we're going to throw this in there. Gently. Gently. And we'll be putting that on for about 25 minutes. Oops. 25 minutes later and we have a nicely browned, bubbly lasagna. Now we get to dish them up for Lyrical and see how it tastes. Our piece of lasagna that's slowly sliding apart, and that's okay too. It's not supposed to stay together. I'm going to take this upstairs, and I'll try a piece myself, and we'll see how it goes. I just had a taste of mine, and it is awesome. It is a little oily and has some, like, wetness in it, but that's because the meat, you know, wept out some while it cooked. And some of the cheese, you know, got a little goopy. And it's okay if it falls apart and it has a little oil in it. You just take out what you need. Maybe drain off a little if you don't feel comfortable with that. And you got lasagna. Alright, well stay tuned next time for my dad's comfort food, which is tomato soup, and grilled cheese. See you then.